Well, for more on the meeting between Xi Jinping and ying-jeou, let's head to Beijing. I'm joined by current affairs commentator Einar Tangen. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So we have this historic meeting coming up, and shortly after it's announced, the stock market in Taiwan surged. What does this tell you about how the business community and investors are viewing the meeting?
Well, there's a little bit of a disparity sometimes between popular opinion and business opinion. I mean, with 40% of the trade volume going back and forth between China and Taiwan, the business community is obviously very sensitive about this issue. You have to remember, 10% of Taiwan's workforce are now working in China. But that's also part of the problem. There's a sense that they're being engulfed.
And when we look at some of the trade deals, we see this service trade deal was made in 2013 and it's still stuck in Taiwan's legislature. What do you think are the biggest sticking points stopping this from going through?
I think it's more psychological than reality. The fact is that these countries are very dependent upon not so much China on Taiwan, but Taiwan on China. Largest trade partner, overwhelming amount, 300 billion in foreign trade, 40% of that going to China. It's very difficult, but psychologically, because of the independence and the distance between the countries over the years, it's very difficult for the people to accept that they're part of China. They've created this kind of separate identity. But, you know, trade is going to probably continue to be the driving factor between these two countries. Not two countries, two areas.
And as we look specifically at the service sectors, which sectors do you think are really going to see the biggest boost?
Well, I mean, there's a whole cross-section of them. I mean, if they ratify the latest agreement in 2013, there'll be a tremendous amount of overplay where highly educated Taiwanese professionals will have more opportunities in China itself, and also some Chinese will go into Taiwan. But this issue about who is going to come out on top is very difficult. And for the Taiwanese, they're constantly in this situation where they're trying to gauge exactly what this economic tie-up is going to be. But, you know, as you see, despite concerns since last year, trade has just been booming at an otherwise very soft economy. So the question is, going forward, how will Taiwan deal with its the relationship psychologically when by trade they're being drawn closer?
And as we look at some of these free trade zones that we have in China, especially the one launched this year in Fujian province, what impact do you think these trade zones can have on relations with Taiwan?
Well, just some background. These free trade zones, it's not only Taiwan. There were 3 free trade zones set up, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore. These were all set up as bridgeheads as part of this global silk web that China has been developing. These are kind of areas where they have established relationships, and these are going to be stepping stones to other parts of Asia. So those countries those areas that are participating in this are going to be very much advantaged by the AIB as it expands. So it's still in the making. Things are still happening.
I'm sorry, as you were mentioning some of the psychological things that could be holding people up when it comes to this acceptance of this greater trade relationship. What sort of opportunities do you think there may be, as China recently announced its 13th 5-year plan? What sort of opportunities do you think that might bring?
Well, obviously the AIIB, the One Belt and Road Initiative are going to be centermost in this. As China creates a regional economic kind of bloc or expands what happened in China to the region around it, Taiwan is poised to benefit tremendously from this. I mean, they're exactly the kind of trade partner that China needs. They're very high in the service sector and technology, finance, all of these different areas which China needs if it's going to fully implement its global vision.
Well, it's definitely something that people will be watching for that meeting on Saturday. A big thank you to our current affairs commentator, Einar Tangen.